The fan. Okay. Hey guys. That might mean we're gonna reset on TradingView as well, I guess, eh? Might have a little hiccup, guys. If you're watching on TradingView, welcome 63 episode coming at you. Oh, but we're good. Okay. Can you show me the link then? Because I'm not seeing. I want to make sure. Oh yeah. Okay. Hey, welcome everybody. Episode 63 here at Labs Live. Your host RT, along with the beautiful, the bold, the brave Nick Cote. How are you doing today?
Good, man. It's a good day.
Tis indeed. Kind of a wild week. I think everyone who's paying attention to crypto now has probably heard of Rebase. And that's really eaten up a lot of my time trying to wrap my head around some of these new protocols. Obviously, if you guys follow me on Twitter at randomtask555, you've noticed that I am balls deep in dollar protocol from a pretty decent price in the sense that I'm not rushing to exit. But we'll talk a bit about that. They released a new Medium article. I know there's a lot of excitement in the trading pit about this one, probably a lot of confusion. So that's something we'll definitely touch on today since Nick and I have been sort of watching it carefully, learning about it. Bitcoin dumped through the Asian session overnight, stopping out every single trader. And then bouncing nicely today. So we're going to take a look at that. Is it bullish? Is it bearish? Is this a bearish throwback? I don't know. If you ask Nick, I have a feeling he'll tell you that there's a short setup coming up and probably not rushing to long this bounce. Is that correct?
I mean, the long was at throwback level down there at 17.4 to 17.6. And now we're basically just waiting to see if price can reclaim the breakdown area around like 18.5, 18.6. So it's kind of like in a no trade zone really right now.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's kind of trading in general here. I think, we talked a little bit about shorting up against the highs, up in that sort of, I'm looking at ETH here. Up around, the last short setup I had was at 19,500. It was more of a scalp. I could have just held it and had a swing trade. But the idea that I had set up was more for the 1 hour chart on that FibPong. So, there's another one came in at 19.3. These are the short reload zones that I'm seeing as we bounce down. If we can squeeze up here into sort of, 18.6, 1900 or 19,000 range, that's an area where I might look to take on another short position. Not because, always the same old story. Next, I want it to go in any particular direction. I just trade what the market gives me. And right now, it's along the bottoms of range, long the dips, or short the bounces, short the tops of ranges. We're kind of in the middle, like a bit of a no man's land. So we're going to dive into all that today, guys. Let's check over on the chat. I got a weird screen up today, but it should still work. We've got Sohail. Welcome back. Haven't seen you in a little bit. Good to have you back in the chat. We've got Dave Millett straight out of the Walmart parking lot holding it down.
Did we just lose our
asking about our intro soundtrack? There it is. And Nathaniel, good to see you guys. Welcome to the stream. I'm just going to switch my YouTube page so I can see proper
all the beautiful chats.
Yeah, I want to see all the chats. Make sure we're not missing. Oh, and I got to check Periscope today. I keep forgetting to be live on that chat because some guys are over there saying hi and stuff, and I totally ghosted them last time. So let's pull that up, and then we're going to dive into the charts. You just saw something on MicroStrategy. Anything interesting there?
No, there's nothing interesting there. There's just the standard SEC filing, changing up some stuff. But the big news out of that was Citibank downgrading them, the credit rating yesterday. I guess internally there's some dissent if Michael Saylor's taking the company in the right direction, with basically just going all in Bitcoin, taking out a $400 million convertible note debt to buy more Bitcoin. To basically just longing their longs on leverage, which is obviously the debt, right? So as long as Bitcoin continues going up, that'd be a good move. If Bitcoin were to turn against you, that debt doesn't look as sexy, now does it? Luckily, that'd be denominated in USD, not Bitcoin.
Yeah, I was thinking this morning as I woke up, for some reason, this is the shit that runs through my head while I'm lying in bed. It's like Bitcoin will break 20K after Michael Saylor gets liquidated, and not a moment before. Guys
that
like
be amazing?
plowing in hundreds of millions of dollars at the local highs, and I just thought that was kind of funny that maybe the Bitcoin community welcomes him with a big dirty washout, and he's like, "Fuck Bitcoin," and then off to new highs.
Yeah.
I feel like he
It
has
would
deep
be.
pockets, so who knows?
Well, does he? Because essentially what he's doing now is leveraging his company's credit to buy more Bitcoin. It's not a personal buy. I'm sure
At
he's
the
already all
top,
in.
classic.
I know. It's not a great
Classic.
look. It's not a great look.
But
yeah, he
long
takes a
term.
long-term view. Exactly. He takes a long-term view on stuff. He's not role possibly as a reserve currency in the next 10, 15 years or something, right? Maybe sooner. Maybe we're completely off on the timing, but we're definitely in the midst of an early transition away from fiat currencies. And I think there's a lot of rumblings around people still have confidence in the USD as a reserve currency. Talk to China or Russia, Argentina, Brazil, they will say no. So yeah, a lot of interesting things happening. But I guess we could take a quick look at Bitcoin and Ethereum here on some higher time frames.
Yeah, let's look. I think there's a little anxiety in the market right now. Obviously, consolidation causes that. On the bounce days, on the rally weeks, it looks like it's going to break 20K, and you get the little downside, and it looks like it's going to hit 13 next Monday. So, with that Asian session dump, it does look like a pretty clean bullish retest that you've got drawn up in your chart. But let's see if we can, find some, I guess, edge here in what has otherwise basically just been a slow bleed down to the 17s, which is kind of what I talked about last week on the market update video. If you guys haven't watched that, you can check it out. It's a little out of date now. Obviously, there's been some changes since, but the thesis was generally that Bitcoin would get pretty boring and quiet here through December, and that would give chances to altcoins to rally. And we're starting to see that. But let's get a look at Nick's.
So this is just a good 4-hour chart. Obviously, this looked awful, right? Classic M for murder setup here. Lower high, lower high, lower high. Volume was following. Sure enough, boom, breaks it down. We were pretty close on our targets. We were looking for like that 17.4 to 17.6. I think it stopped around like 17.64. So pretty good accuracy on that. The levels, they validate that, they validated the levels on that type of dump. So but you can see here now the prices come back, retesting that bearish breakdown spot. So this is the bearish throwback. 18.6 down to 18.5. If we see another, if I were to see a few more jabs into this level and rejection, I'd probably be looking for some shorts, short reloads on those, targeting back down to these range lows here at 17.4 and stuff. I don't think we'd break it on the first go. If we were to remain bearish and not just in kind of this ranging market, which is kind of that's what we're doing right now. We're in this giant giant range looks like this right now. So kind of between these local highs and these local. So it's a huge range, like 16.5 all the way up to 20K. That's what we're playing in right now, right? So you can see this is the first range. Now what's happening, right? Well, the range is condensing, right? It's consolidating. So now what I could expect to see was if we are going to continue this range, for price to range within here now. So 17.5, 18.5. So you can see this thing's getting contracted. And eventually wherever this goes, this little range that we're forming here now, this is going to be your next big trade. If we do break above this bearish throwback level, say we come up here and it turns back to support, that's going to be your signal that the bulls are indeed in charge once again. And we'd be targeting a retest around this volume node here, 19.2, 19.4, right? If it clears these highs, again, 19.4 is going to be a big pivot level for the market. If we're above 19.4, I think it's an easy long. Targeting the highs, and we'd probably go off to do price discovery. But however,
targeting infinity.
Yeah, but if we do fail, this bearish throwback, couple tests in it, goes down, I would definitely be looking to short this around 18.6, and then trying to target this 19.5, 19.4. I would take 50% off. because odds are it's going to bounce back this level here, something like 17, just under 18K. If it failed there, I'd reshort. I'd add to the short, and I'd target these lows down here, down at like 62, 65. I would expect that they get swept probably into this big support range that we have yet to test. Right? We've only tested it once. It proved to be the launch pad for all of this. We made the higher low here. But this would be a really great entry. So around 15.7, 15.6, I would definitely expect a price reaction there. Like if we are honestly cratering through it, something's happened. Something bad has happened. But a lot of the time,
and what's kind of cool is,
mm-hmm.
Well, I was just going to say, what's kind of cool is that a break of those lows from late November, which you just pointed out, is really just a test of that big demand line or support. That would be a huge washout. Like a lot of people's stops when we get down into that area would be at like that 16.2. So that would be a pretty savage sweep to get through, break through that, and then instead of nuking to Hades, it just bounces right back up. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and like taking a quick look here at the inflows onto the exchanges, we were raising the alarms when it gets up to this, above basically anything above 1.7 or even maybe a little bit lower. 1.6 and higher is a little bit of concern. What it means is that people are depositing coins onto the exchanges. What does that mean? Well, usually that's going to result in some sell pressure or some distribution. And that's kind of what's been happening up here, right? We've had a few dips off of this, but those coins are getting distributed and they're getting absorbed. More importantly, I think we got to definitely be keeping a close eye on to what GBTC is doing, pretty much at all times at this point, as GBTC is the enabler of this entire run. Essentially, they're basically a proxy for buying for everybody else, and that's what's going on. So when we saw it, we see it's kind of coming down right now, and there's more room for downside here as GBTC kind of cools off. We'd be expecting potentially a 19-20% drop from here on GBTC shares back to the 16 level range, and it's a big level. This is a multi-year level. So if we see support in this range, which I suspect we would see, unless the grayscale Ponzi is collapsing, which I don't think it is just yet. There's plenty of more upside.
Yeah.
But yeah, going to be keeping it and I think people need, again, who is driving the market right now? Grayscale is, right? They're buying, significantly more than the supply that's issued every single day. So it makes sense to keep an eye on what the fuck is going on over there. Keep in mind, all the guys, all the people who are buying in, I think they're under, either a 90-day lock, a 3-month lock, or a 6-month lock. I forget off my head. But the point is that they can't just buy it and then sell it the next day. They have to hold that for a while. So that's something to keep in mind. But people who are buying down here, definitely some profit taking up here. And that makes sense. They're sitting on a 400% gain. Right now.
And that's, even in bullish trends, you're going to have these pullbacks, you're going to have these washouts. We could come all the way back down to your purple line, even a little lower there, and stay bullish.
Yep.
And that is sort of what a lot of people, even the bulls that I know, are speculating could happen through the end of the year. As it is just in markets in general, can be a very boring time of year. It's the end of December, you're getting ready for the holidays. And I'm not thinking about like mom and pop investors and traders, just thinking about some of this institutional money. These guys have families too. And sometimes you see like a slag through the summer because they're off in the Hamptons. Sometimes you see, end of year boredom. And so a lot of them, it's balance the books. Let's not make any big plays until the new year starts and get our fresh books going in January. So this isn't really all that unexpected. It is also certainly shouldn't be considered bearish overall. So we're here really talking about like, how can we trade this? How can we maximize? I'm not too worried, really not too worried about Bitcoin through, January, February, March, April. If anything, boredom, insane downside. Well, we'll see. We'll play it one level at a time, but just going to point out that seasonally, December can be a very boring month.
Yeah,
but not for altcoins.
Yeah, altcoins. This is going to be a great time for all. One more point though, quickly on Bitcoin high time frame. Buying here is just absolutely like up here, 19K. It's just absolutely. It takes a special type of person to be doing that. wait for the close above the level to confirm that we're going to have price discovery. Otherwise, you're literally buying all-time highs like a retard. I don't know how else to put it.
We don't use that word here, but I get your drift.
Yeah. So right now, Bitcoin, when I was plotting this yesterday, I was pretty confident we were going to be going down. You were looking at 5% upside versus a 13% minimum downside risk, right? Sure enough, here she dumps. But again, right now, key levels, we're just going to stay in this range. And the trade here is wherever this breaks, that's going to be the big swing trade that you want, right? Like in terms of percentages move, let's just quickly recalibrate a little bit here. Whoop. So if this range breaks, where are you going to be looking for to the downside? Well, down here, right? 13.8 is going to be a fantastic 13.8 all the way down to 13.1. So we're going to have a nice, 14 to 16% move on a range expansion here. And, God knows how high this is going to go if we break out to the upside, right? Say Bitcoin, even just, conservatively, 22K or something, right? So this is the trade that you're going to be looking for. Ignore what's happening in here. I know it's a wide range. If you have scalping strategy, or a close above 19.8, that's going to open up, a much better opportunity with greatly reduced risk.
Yeah, and I really appreciate these higher time frame looks. I think sometimes I get my templates set up and I have what I'm looking at and all that, and I get stuck in my 4-hour thinking, my 1-hour thinking. And so, like I said, my short from 19.6 was a nice scalp trade, or 19.5, whatever it was. It was a really nice scalp trade, but should I have been maybe looking to get into more of a midterm swing, which I even talked about. But as a trader, I tend to stick to lower time frames through this kind of consolidation. I like to play that bib pong, baby. Now, a good friend of mine, Shane, is in the chat here today. Shane JLM, good to see you, brother. And he is bringing up something that you and I have talked about before, and I think it would be really good to bring up today, and that is the Mt. Gox decision on the 15th. Will it be a delay? Will it be?
There'll be a delay.
Yeah. So
nothing's been settled. So how are they going to distribute coins if the lawsuits are still going on?
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. If we flip over to my screen, I'll just show you the article, Cointelegraph. They don't really draw any bold conclusions like you have. But I tend to lean towards listening to you because you don't do a lot of this hyperbole that these articles like to say. But deadline looms. That is the kind of narrative that would drive a correction, I think, if it did come through, where they're saying, hey, there's 140,000 Bitcoin that are going to be distributed to people who are in deep profit and probably sick of sitting on that, for however many years it's been. Like I have a friend of mine who I worked with 2 years ago, and he's sitting on a good chunk of that Bitcoin that is probably now worth like $60,000-$70,000, and I think it was like $5,000 back when it was hacked. Yeah. I mean, what do you think he's going to do when he gets it? He's probably going to treat himself to a new trade account and some other stuff, and he's gonna sell a lot. And I think a lot of people would. So if this does come through, that would be bearish, short term,
big time.
And
at the same time.
So, but your take is that basically the reason they've been delaying is to wait for results of lawsuits, and those haven't happened, so you don't anticipate any kind of decision.
Yeah, that's correct. There's still people making claims on those coins right now, how they're going to get distributed.
Ooh, and Shane's got 10 Bitcoin sitting in there too. Congrats, bro. That's going to be nice. So you're probably watching this closer than most.
Wow, Shane just got doxxed.
Well, he said that in the chat. He doxed himself.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But careful with that, guys. Like, security around holdings is going, like, it's important now, but just wait until this thing gets really valuable and the government's looking for you. It's just, but the real news that people aren't really talking. Well, they're starting to talk about it now, but they're trying to ostrich effect, where people just put their heads in the sand, hoping it doesn't. Bad news gets ignored. That's going to be the regulations around KYC enforcement, AML enforcement, restrictions around self-custody, restrictions on for the KYC from sending to individual wallets. On like, there's going to be a massive surveillance net. Like it's already massive, but it's going to be even tighter than what it's been over these past couple of years. Institutions, they'll champion it. Accredited investors, they'll champion it. But the sovereign individuals, or the idea of being a sovereign individual using Bitcoin is definitely RIP on that one. But yeah, the Mt. Gox, it would be bearish initially, but we got to remember there's a lot we've talked about before. There's a lot of buy side demand. The underlying bid on this market right now is huge. So I think the effect would be the price action would be very short term. It'd be a huge drop, but that shit would get bought up very quickly. It'd be a huge buying opportunity, more so than like, oh God, it's over type thing, right?
Yeah, just for an example here, guys, having been through 2017, and a lot of people look back at that and they just see this, massive bubble. They say, wow, that was easy. I wish I was around for that. And I've talked about this before, when you zoom in, and this is a daily chart, so this is like 10 days of downside, and it accelerates and ends in a bit of a parabola. And during that 10 days, you're running around, you're scrambling, you're looking for reasons to buy or sell, you're looking for insight. And this was the all-time high at the time, about $5,000. It had been running quite a bit that year, hundreds of percent. So this, a lot of people sold through here. A lot of people got shook out there. And as you can see, it recovered pretty quickly. And it was actually this that confirmed that we're back. And you can see it just kind of touched again, and then it was off. So getting an understanding for these kind of structures now is going to serve you really well through whatever is to come, because as we zoom forward here, let's go take a look at the local price action based on what Nick said. And I agree that if there is going to be, some kind of downside from here, I think it's very unlikely that it's going to be some sustained bear market like this. This was not a blow off top. This was not the end of a new bull cycle. This was more like, if anything, the beginning. And so you want to keep in mind, have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, a lot of people, here's what's going to happen, right? It's going to be like, oh my God, I'm super bearish. Oh my God, if this breaks, I'm going to sell. Oh, we hit Nick's level, bounce back up. Oh no, I sold the bottom. I got to get back in. It's still going down. And then you get into this kind of level, wherever it ends up being the exact bottom. And then it's just zoop, boop, 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 zoop. And then it's gone. And you missed it. And if you don't have a plan, you're selling in there instead of maybe taking some risk off the table up here. Yeah, of course, you might have to buy it back a little higher if you're wrong. But if you're right, then you can be having some bids through these levels and kind of sit comfy and just, really grasp, hold on to your higher time frame thesis. If you're here, you're a bull. That's, the bottom line. People aren't coming to hang out and watch streams on crypto and follow crypto and learn about crypto because they think it's going to zero. So if you are a bull, have a plan, understand that this could happen, and this wouldn't necessarily be bad long-term. In fact, this would clean up the chart so nicely and make, longing a lot easier again without worrying about massive liquidation runs. So I think, most of the people I know are actually kind of hoping for something like this. They have offset their risk. They have sold a lot of Bitcoin up here around 19 and 20K, and they're hoping this happens. And if you look at the chart, gravity, physics, all this TA stuff, this would make perfect sense. But during this, you're not going to see people, for the most part, it's not going to be hunky-dory. It's going to be something really bearish, right? Like Mt. Gox is selling thousands and thousands of Bitcoin, or like there's going to be a reason that makes you almost think that selling through this would actually be a good idea. So get your sort of plan together now. If this does happen, you want to have that in place. Like I want to have my bids working. I don't right now. But if this breaks down, like I'm going to be going and putting alerts and bids and just not caring if they fill and then it goes down another $1,000. And, it's a plan. You got to have that kind of working. If your thesis is that Bitcoin's going to go to 100K, 30K, whatever it is, do not put yourself into a position where you now have to scramble to make decisions during volatility like that. Because objectively speaking, this is a bull trend. Bitcoin is an emerging asset class. It is tiny compared to even just gold's market cap, let alone, Apple's stock, just one company. And so when you get into, if we get into levels like this, I mean, that's a generational buy right there. 12.5, 13.5, whatever. Does it get there? Who knows? But if it does get there, I want to have a friggin' plan. I don't want to execute, and I want to not be emotional and stare at my dollar balance from the last 3 days. So that's my rant. And you know, at this point, I don't even know that we're going down there. Oh shit! I just closed my tab instead of opening it. Let's go look at that again. Yeah, this is where I'm living right now. You know, one level at a time. I'm fairly cash heavy. I've been offsetting a lot of my risk. I have been speculating on altcoins through this, as I obviously talked about on my market update last week. I think there's an opportunity to catch bids here on altcoins. The one thing, and this is the knock on it, and I realized this week, after we broke this narrow range, had a few good conversations with some other traders, and I just thought, like, you know, there's going to be some alts popping. I'm already seeing that, you know, but you have to be very selective. This is not, I don't think, going to be like some market-wide FU face rip rally for altcoins, especially as Bitcoin, you know, teases the highs and sort of rolls over a bit. So, like, for example, Algorand, yeah, break out of the wedge. It's kind of flatlining. This is not a bad spot to be thinking about DCAing. But, like, let's look at Theta and TFUEL, because these actually had narratives. So, right, so when you're being selective, what I mean is, you know, if you're bullish on altcoins, if you think there's room for them to run, you got to be really choosy. And that's why we did that market scan 2 weeks ago, because I wanted to see, like, I want to only get the best ones. And then once you have a really good chart, you want to find the one of those charts that has a story coming up. So I know Theta has a big launch coming up. I believe it's December 12th, some kind of thing. I don't even.
Big news just hit.
Oh, what's the good news?
France has banned anonymous cryptocurrency transactions.
Is that good or bad?
Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire, that's bad. Finance Minister Bruno
okay.
Yes. The Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire has published a decree that forces crypto exchanges to implement KYC for all transactions, essentially banning anonymous transactions. RIP.
Jeez, okay. So let's see how that affects it. I mean, the funny thing about privacy coins is that, you know, they're not designed to be like regulation friendly and all that. You know, I don't think anyone, you know, I see things, people are like, well, you know, when something's banned, it creates scarcity, and scarcity drives demand and value. Like, who knows how XMR, Zcash, Dash are going to, you know, respond to those kinds of bans, but that's interesting. And perhaps is like the first drip of a floodgate.
Of course. I think what's going to happen is that we're going to see delistings of privacy coins, because how can they enforce
regulated exchanges? Yeah,
correct. Yeah. So how can we see what that also means is that those privacy coins are going to lose leverage, right? That's an important thing, and that's going to completely change how those markets behave as well. No cascading liquidations, etc. So yeah, we got to be thinking, you know, that this is the time to be positioning yourselves accordingly. I do think people should have a basket of privacy coins, but yeah, I think we're going to see a restriction for those coins on, you know, the regulated exchanges. And yeah, I think you're right. This is just going to be the first move. You know, France taking the initiative here, but I've read the documents. They're definitely going to do a full push for this right across Europe, right across North America. Obviously, Japan, South Korea will follow as well. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on.
God, this weekly chart on Monero looks so bullish.
I know.
Like, can we say lift off? I mean, I don't know the dynamic of how exactly regulations and that stuff it will play into this. I don't imagine it will be an easy path. It'll probably be like, you know, the market all struggling to figure that out. So it'll be like, oh, it's pumping, it's a good thing, and it's, oh, it's dumping, it's a bad thing, and volatility ensues. But there's just no two ways about it. This is a very bullish chart on the weekly for Monero, and that little retest and go short time frame maybe needs to cool off here, consolidate above this. But that's, you know, as far as like people that, you know, coming in over like a 6 month to 12-month time horizon, as far as like, I'll buy whenever it's going to be bullish. And then you look at this whole chart, there's probably no more bullish time or appropriate time to be buying than on a retest of a large bullish weekly structure.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind, guys. When you look at this market and you think, you know, how do I best deploy myself? I can't say for sure. For myself, I've got my own strategy, and it's a lot of in and out actually at this top part, to be honest. But This is generally a time to be like, oh, you know what? If I'm going to park this for a year or 5 years, this is the kind of chart and sort of the area I want to be thinking about that. Let's go over to Theta. There's been a few. Now, Theta is obviously, unfortunately, I should say, one that I missed as far as like on stream. Now, the BTC pair kind of came into the reload zone and bounced. No big deal. I'm thinking about the USDT pair has been really doing well. You know that we were shorting this earlier in the year up around these highs, made some really nice scalp gains, and it never really rolled over. It kind of just came in to this level and got a lot of bounces, and it's starting to break out again. They have an event, some kind of network launch or mainnet thing. I don't know, and I feel ignorant for bringing it up not knowing, but that's on December 12th, and that is going to be driving a lot of interest into that. It could be a really nice sell the news event, as is the case with a lot of these things. So if I'm looking for a short proxy in the market, I'll often look for a coin that's doing quite well, and in this case actually has a sell the news event potentially baked in right over here on the 12th. So this might be a case, this chart generally looks pretty bullish, so I wouldn't rush to short something like that generally. But if you're thinking like Bitcoin, ETH, they're going to roll over, they're going to cool down, they're going to be boring, then this is one that I might be looking at depending on how the price action looks if it gets up into this range, where I could then ride the market down on something that's at its highs. Because for example, Bitcoin, like, okay, cool, it's down here. It's actually in a long area for me now based on this range. So if I'm trying to short the market, I don't have a setup that says short Bitcoin at 17.2. I need to go and find an altcoin, and thankfully a lot of them have leverage and you can take shorts. I need to go find something that is at its highs where there is a setup, and if Bitcoin or ETH are going to roll over, then I can ride that thing down. So that's what I'm thinking. TFUEL, because really what I want to do, even if it's going to be bullish, bearish, whatever, the fact is Bitcoin is just consolidating in the range that we identified. It's kind of doing exactly what it had to for these things to be bullish. So TFUEL is Theta Fuel, and if Theta is doing well and has a catalyst, TFUEL should as well, and that's what we're seeing here. Actually got a double out from down in the 50s to 100 on the chart in theory. But again, coming into this consolidation, does it have a whole bunch more upside with that event in days? Probably not. But you are catching some bids. We're seeing some nice pops in the market. So I want to highlight a couple that we've talked about before as far as just updating what we are seeing. AXS was probably my favorite chart last week. Again, it was the centerpiece of the market update video, and it's been one of the 3 coins we talked about on our Twitter, which, by the way, if you don't follow, is at Real Hero Labs. Quick plug on our Twitter. But this one confirmed bullish market structure here, dipped into the reload zone on the Friday dump on Bitcoin. Confirmed new bullish market structure and is just kind of running. And if it breaks these highs, maybe a little retest and go. But if it breaks these highs, you can see the volumes rising. I would expect that we'll be visiting a dollar area next, and that would be the fib extension of this first leg. I mean, this thing just looks really good. So sometimes I want to try to ignore, because if you just stare at Bitcoin and Ethereum and you try to play that guessing game, well, first of all, you don't know. And when I look at this, I don't know that I see a setup for myself right now, other than maybe shorting a bearish retest or, longing a higher low here and trying to ride up the squeeze. Like, I don't know that I see a setup I like, but I look at this chart and what's showing me over the last week or two, and I'm like, well, in any other market, all things aside, that's just a long. Looks really good, and see the buyers are coming in. So that's been one. I think the other one I'll talk about before flip back to whatever Nick's seeing on the altcoins maybe is Bell, and I'm not on the right template for Bell. Let's go to see Bell over here. Bell. Uh-oh. Where is it? I'm going to find my BTC.
Where'd it go?
Oh, Binance USD. That's the template I want. So I think it's here. And I want to talk about this too. The altcoin index, which is like at a super critical level. And if it bounces here, that's going to be so good. But let's check out Bell USDT. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So let's look at, let's break this down, because this is going to be something that we're going to see quite a bit in markets. And it's a really nice signal, and it worked perfectly this time. So first of all, you got Bell sliding down. No real sell interest near these lows. Sellers drying up. No volume at all. and then you get this big wake up of volume here. That's your signal to say, oh, maybe somebody's trying to put a bottom in this market. We had bullish divergence on the daily, all that stuff. Then nice big breakout, more volume. So what is this? This is a dip for buying. It's coming back into that bullish breakout level after some volume. And that was that sort of late November dump. So look left, have your setups working, and suddenly you're getting fills on these days instead of wondering if you should be changing your life thesis on crypto. And then we got another break up here. Nice volume started to come in. And it was actually this candle close right here on the 6th the other day that I spotted. And I thought, damn, that's new bullish market structure on sort of another little structure here, just basically reversing this pullback downtrend. So on this candle body close, I bought some Bell and I risk to this low, right? So this is how I traded this. Basically just buying that candle body close, risking to that low, playing it up to this target. I've got a pretty decent risk reward there. And then of course, very happy to see like tons of buy volume coming in. But this candle close was a strong signal. And as you can see, the market's caught wind of that and the buyers came in, right? So TA does work, and it's really just a matter of making it work for you, finding simple, repetitive signals that you can then take risk on, because of course anything could happen and this could roll over. But I lose 16%, and every time I make this trade work, I get 73%. So if I'm banging out even 40% accuracy, I make money, right? So that is the nature of the trade. And Bell is looking really good this week. It's looking, I guess for anyone who's not in it and they're thinking, well, is there a trade here still? There's a level here, and it is resistance, I'd say right now. If that flips, so, price breaks out, takes off here, and then the market chills and maybe cools down a bit and, comes back into this level, I think there's a trade there as well. And then you're capturing this. That's kind of more of a Nick style trade where you're waiting for the higher time frame flips. So what do you think of that, Nick? What do you see on Bell? I'd like to see your purple boxes on it, because really it's kind of come into a range now. It's left its reload zone, which is where I get all excited. But it's getting into that more like of an expansion trade almost.
Yeah, I agree with. I like the retest there. If I was long on this thing, yeah, like you've already nailed it. Your stop loss is right below that second candle to the right there with the high volume. From there, we've taken the highs. Yeah, I think you've already kind of outlined exactly how I would be outlining at this point. If you're taking a long off these levels, your stop's going to be like 1.86, and you're going to be targeting around like 210. And exactly, yep, that's the retest. Yep, that's where you want to be buying if it breaks out and get that retest, and then you capture the actual markup move.
Yeah, so I mean, and there's so many ways to skin the cat, so to speak, in trading. People want to get aggressive and just buy this dip because it's the retest. Other people might say, I'm going to wait for the continuation structure to confirm, which is what I did in this case. Other people still, like Nick or whoever, just might look at the chart and say, well, I missed this, I missed that. There's another trade here, and that is the expansion between this range and this range. And who's to say which one is more or less risky, right? On this huge dump here, Bitcoin was rolling down to 16,000. Was that, that could have gotten worse. Waiting for this breakout, you're risking to a deeper, the low down here, and then obviously by waiting until all the way up here, you've missed some upside. But I'd say that the bull, but you've reduced risk, but the bull is much more confirmed now, right? I mean, you have information that there's a huge amount of buying interest. That information wasn't available over here. So in all these setups, there is some risk, some reward, some offset, and I don't think there's really a wrong way to do it. Whatever way you do it, though, I would just recommend doing it consistently and measuring your outcomes and journaling them so that you can actually look at the data and say, oh, that's profitable. I will keep doing that. I will do fine. Or, after fees and all the slippage and bullshit, I actually just keep losing money. I'm going to change setups or find something better to do with my money. So there's my big old, what had become quite a rant on Bell. Obviously, probably the biggest focus of mine this week, because like I said, and this is probably a good segue to the altcoin index, perp. I did start trading on FTX recently, so I'm starting to look at these more. But the perp's not looking too hot. Bitcoin is down, whatever it is, off its highs. And as somebody pointed out to me yesterday, the perp is actually down quite a bit more, like 21% off the high. So as usual, Bitcoin, altcoins are kind of a leveraged exposure to crypto. They're going to go down more and up more than Bitcoin. So they're not looking too hot as an index. And so there it becomes so important to be selective with your charts. Look for where there's big volume coming in now, because they're the ones that are going to get the fuel. They're the ones that are going to really run. And there's some altcoins that I like fundamentally, old friends, old favorites of mine, and even have nice setups on their charts. Maybe I could pull one up like Homo. Homo's cool coin, great project. But is there huge amounts of buy volume coming in? Not really, not hugely significant ones. And so, is this the place that's going to move first? Probably not. This thing doesn't look like it's going to be the next to go. So being selective like that is really good. And the index is at a really key level. So this is either like a sick buy the dip area for some altcoins, or the matrix is about to break down and we're looking at a dip. So find ways to get in and risk. What are you seeing in the market, Nick? I know your main focus has been ETH and BTC lately as a trader. Have you seen any coins? You do some trading. You do like DOT and YFI and Solana. What are you seeing?
Yeah, YFI. Last week we were calling out the bear div. This thing was destined for a pullback. Sure enough, we got a pretty significant pullback off these levels, didn't we? 25%. The bear div's still there, right? Today we actually broke down from this range here, so it's bearish at the moment. YFI, it needs to reclaim this 26.5 level. This is a daily chart, by the way. It needs to reclaim this 25.6 level in order to signal the bulls have returned. Otherwise, where is this headed? Well, let's get out my squiggly line here. One of these things has my squiggly line. Okay, I give up. I'll just draw it like this. I really need to get better at that. Anyway, so this is the bearish throwback level now here, 26.5. Yeah, about around 26.5. If we see rejection here, pretty confident we're going to be headed right down to my original target. This is a nice daily block here, 22K about, right? As long as that, this is where I'd be looking to buy. We've already, kind of had this move off of that already before. No real test of it yet. So it's not a confirmed support, right? But there's a high probability that you're going to see a positive price reaction off this level. At the very least, you'd probably get a retest back up to here or something like that, right? So I'll be looking for 22,000 to kind of punt along on that. And depending on what happens here, like I haven't been paying attention to this, but that 26.5 level, if that continues, if that breaks to the upside, then okay, I'll take the long, right? You'll have this nice trade from 26 all the way back up to 31,000. But until that happens, I would wait on any longs either for this 22,000 retest or a break above 26, confirming the bull. Otherwise, if you're bearish, expecting price to retreat to lower levels, 26K is actually a pretty decent short entry on that. I'm taking a quick look down here at the lower time frame, see what it looks like. So you can it's a little bit more obvious at that point. You can see this level here again turn into resistance. So if it does break above, it's an easy long, guys. You'll be looking to capture about what's that? Nice 18% move. Otherwise, actually this looks a lot better on the 4-hour, doesn't it? My God. So yeah, you can see why we'd be targeting this 21.5 here, the 22.4 support, turns resistance, turns to support. What's that tell you as a trader? This is a confirmed level, right? And the last interaction with it was bull, right? So you have to operate under the assumption of that it's going to be a bullish level to be supported off of once again, which again, we have three large tests on it to confirm that level. So I'll be waiting for this. If I see rejection up here, I'd probably be looking for a short down to that level, moving above, looking for the long back up to 31K. a good proxy on this has been wherever this DeFi stuff goes. This DeFi perp, I pointed it out. This is a very nice inside bar setup right now. What does that mean? It just means that price is consolidating within the bar, so the body of this candle here, right? And then wherever it breaks, you're usually going to get a measured move out of it. So this is how I trade inside bar setups. They have a pretty decent hit rates, like 66% or something. So that's nice. And you don't trade off them alone. You're looking for other pieces of confluence. But you can see we've been consolidating in this about 17% range. So let's see if those line up with any targets. And I don't necessarily trade these DeFi perp index products or anything much anymore, but I do trade the basket, the coins that actually make up the basket inside of it.
Yeah, so if it's in a bullish trend, you start hunting for maybe long setups on YFI and comp, whatever else.
Things that are going to move in a higher percentage terms. That's what I'm looking. It's like, how can I proxy the trend? Like, what's the best proxy asset to capture the greatest yields in terms of percentage? So this actually lines up pretty well, doesn't it? Right down to this nice throw. This is a 4-day chart, so a huge time frame here. Sure enough, kind of lines up there as well. And those would be, so you got added points of confluence, I guess, is the I'm trying to create here, right? Something like this. Throw this like this. Boom. So it's reacted off there. There you go. So those are your targets, right? Depending on however this breaks. If you're short from these range resistances, it breaks down, well, you're going to be holding all your short positions on DeFi products until this enters around that 17.3. If you're taking longs off the support levels, or if you're still long now, you're hoping for that this breaks up. It'll confirm the trend across all the blue chips. So that's YFI, Maker, Compound, etc. And you'd be looking to ride that 16% in both directions. So there's no trade here just yet, right? It's just ranging. But this is how you're going to trade the expansion, or at least how I would trade it. The other really, DOT, this is, parachains are coming out end of January, beginning of February. So looking for long-term entry on this is, something we're definitely in the market for. This is a great deal.
I sold the bounce like last week on that because I just figured I don't want to hold it through that pullback, and now I don't have my longer term entry, so I want to get that back.
Yeah. So what we're looking on dots here, we had this level drawn out for a few days. This is just the spring of the move, right? So right here is the origin of that spring. Sure enough, right? Getting support off that once again, springs up. However, what's concerning about this? What does this look like? Well, let me show you. With 2 lines, you can tell me what this looks like. Okay, that's really bad. But look at that. It's a descending triangle. Generally, those are bearish. So what I'm looking for now on the short time frames is going to be seeing how this bearish throwback level behaves. So we're kind of coming, we're about to test into it right now. So that's kind of like the $4.95 level. If we see something, we do move up and this turns to support, it could, I'd be looking for something like that, targeting these highs here, right? And it also would invalidate this descending triangle.
Which looks like it's out of a Dr. Zeus book, by the way.
Yeah, this is a nasty fucking triangle. Like, triangles should not have slopes.
It's like the Grinch's hat.
Excuse me. If we do reject here, you'll get your fills. Why? Because this thing is going to go down and sweep these lows. It's a no-brainer. So there's no good trades out there right now, but there's pivots coming that are going to give us entries into those next big swing trades. So have some patience, right? If you didn't catch these lows for these little scalps, that's okay. Don't rush into it, because now you're getting pretty close to buying, essentially resistance here at $4.95. But this is something you are going to want some long-term exposure to, especially going into the parachain launches again, end of January or early February. Take a quick look here on the weekly to see what it looks like. Again, there's not a lot of data here. Very, very messy. But yeah, just
pretty new. And the Bitcoin pair just made new lows, which made me sort of step off the gas, so to speak, and hunting for my entry.
Yeah.
It's got to form a bottom, and the USD pair did on the 4-day there. Oh, somebody just asked any reason for the 4-day chart, and I basically just said that odd time charts can provide hidden insights, but I tend to stick to the ones that everyone's watching because I think they have stronger levels. Why do you use the 4-day chart?
Oh, I just happened to be on there. Like at the end of the day, I'm just looking for patterns and fractals. And I don't like. I'll go back to it quickly here. Where's DeFi pair? It just higher the time frame, higher the weighting, right? Generally is generally the rule of thumb. And I just saw this pattern. So we have 12 days of consolidation within this block. What that tells me is that the break of it is going to be extremely significant. So that's, once I identify something like that, I want to keep an eye on it because I know high probability says that, when this does break in either direction, we're going to get a very substantial move off of it. And it doesn't show the same. The price action just isn't the same across these other things. That's why I say you always got it with your TA. Start on the higher time frames and make your way down and see what you see, right? But you can see this inside bar is only visible on the 4-day, right? A lot of the time, I love looking at the 2-week chart. Literally nobody charts this stuff, but especially with Bitcoin and stuff, just because it has so much data behind it, the 2-week chart has been honestly a blessing. Like it is so good at calling trend in Bitcoin specifically. Like if you go back on my Twitter, like I love the 2-day. Look at this thing, like the Stoke crosses down, finally confirms it, and you're in a bear market the entire time that this thing is down. And that's why we got if we didn't know each other then, but we were in the groups I was in at the time. We were very excited when we started to see this come up and cross above that 20 mark, right? Because that basically confirmed to us, okay, this thing is about to start fucking trending. Let's go, right?
Yeah.
Sure enough, again, it breaks down below the 80 mark. And what happens? Well, we get a 6-month bear trend off of that, right? Finally crosses up. Like these are big moves, 6K all the way. Like that's 100% move just about. And then same thing here, right? So yeah, like there's no right now the 2-week is saying we're clearly in a bull trend. It has not closed down below the 80. This is just people will say, oh, it's overbought, etc. But like, let's look at Apple, right? To give you some context here of why that you and I already went over it.
Yeah.
I think it was on the monthly. This thing's been topped literally. Okay, maybe this wasn't. What was it? Amazon?
Amazon for like 10 years has been overbought.
I think it was Amazon. Yeah, exactly. Like, look at this thing. Like, imagine trying to fade Amazon for 4 years on this because it's quote unquote overbought, right? It's not. It's just people use the Stoke wrong. Like,
yeah, it's not actually one that I use until I met you, and then you started telling me about the 3-day signals you can find on it for the swing trades, and I put it on my charts. I don't tweet it much. You won't see it on too many of my content charts, but it's on my template, and when I hang out with you, I tend to look at it differently because the way you use it is fascinating. It as a swing trader, like it just gives really nice signals.
Yeah, that's actually like we're not going to get into stocks here today, but this is kind of interesting. Like, look at this. Actually, this could be a really good setup here. Look at this triangle that's forming, obviously, and it's coming to a conclusion here. Everything's lining up in the stock market right now. Actually, there's a lot of great setups. Like I know we're crypto focused here, but like this is the trade you want to take, right? Because if this thing, if this thing breaks, this is Amazon, by the way, our Lord and Savior Jeff Bezos.
You can trade it on FTX now.
Oh yeah, that's right. Right, so yeah.
You guys actually do have some access potentially.
Yeah, that's right. We should be thinking about this. Anyways, this is going to be a great 15% move to the upside, or at minimum, a 12% move, to the downside, or at minimum, a 12% move to the upside. So this is actually a really interesting one to be keeping an eye on, especially all stocks. I think there's going to be a little end of year selling personally in the stock market. Like we can take a quick peep here at the S&P 500. It just hit that 3,700 mark. It's coming off a little bit right now. Basically, as long as the stock market, so this is U.S. equities, as long as that's holding this level here, again, that Wyckoff throwback level, around 3,500, it's okay. But this thing could easily come down and retest that. and there's a huge bear div for it. Like you see that hidden bear div right there on the VZO here. So look here, right? Momentum here has been falling while price has been increasing, right? So when this, and same thing, look at that volume, just fucking Jesus, right?
Not so much interest to the end of the year.
No, and exactly. And this is very typical of the end. Like we talk, our teach brings it up all the time. End of year tax selling, holidays. People just want to bank some profit off this insane move. So yeah, I'm definitely expecting 3,500 to go get retested in the short term here, going into the holidays. But yeah, what's this going to mean? It means that you don't necessarily want to trade the S&P on this move. Why? Because the conclusion of this move is only going to be 2%, right? Versus say something on, did I still have my Amazon chart up? No, but you saw it. The downside on a lot of the stocks are going to be around 15 to 20%. If they break the current consolidation, we see some end of year selling. So use this as a reference point. Obviously it's an index, but use it as a reference point and then look for other opportunities elsewhere. And I think
which really ties into what I was talking about earlier with Theta, getting up to the highs, has a potential sell the news event in 4 days. If I'm dying to short something because I think Bitcoin and ETH have to roll over, well, they're pretty low in their ranges, but Theta just made highs and has a news event and can be leverage shorted. So again, finding the more volatile proxy that will essentially play out your thesis for the greater gain. And that's actually why you trade Ethereum for the most part on your futures instead of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, there's better, much better volatility, like 3x.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to, did you want to talk about that total real quick? Because I've got a few things lined up that I'm dying to talk about. We are at the top of the hour. So we're getting into that sort of rapid fire mode, but I got a little time here. So let's do this.
Yeah. Quickly again, like if you read our newsletter, we use the total market cap just kind of as the pulse of the market, right? This is a huge former resistance level. It's kind of trying to form a little bit of support off of it. So this kind of just like verifies to me that we're just in a consolidation phase, lower high, lower high, lower high, but we're making higher lows. So there's no, we're not trending right now or anything, right? If we do see that market cap pulling back above that $580 billion mark, long the longs, right? Targeting probably another, what is that, 20% upside from there? Yeah, about that. 25%. And if we're making lower lows, then, well, fucking stop longing your longs, right? Either get into Tether or USDC. Like, that's another thing we could talk about is the risk of centralized stable coins. Probably won't have time today, but definitely an interesting topic.
So much to cover. I know.
I'll be diving into that.
Yeah, I still want to ramble a bit on Dollar Protocol, but I seriously could talk for that for hours. But we should at least touch on it today, just at least a brief overview of their new Medium article, because I know a lot of people in the trading pit and that want to watch and learn about that.
Yeah. All right. Then quickly, a quick segue into that. We have to talk about the problem before we give the solution. The problem is that there's going to, the Stable Care Act, like the CARE Act. Is it the CARE Act or the Stable Care Act? There's something going through Congress right now that basically is going to restrict the issuance of stable coins and affect already the incumbents. So that's USDC, Paxos,
TUSD, True USD.
Yeah. Like basically all those guys, all the issuers that we've had, and Libra as well with Facebook as well. That's kind of like the impetus for this stuff, to be honest. But Bitcoin, not necessarily a huge threat to world governments, and but stable coins, that's a huge threat. And we're like why? The stablecoin volume traded on Tether alone is greater than all the top, almost greater, if not greater than all the top 10 market cap coins combined. Like there is significantly more demand for stablecoins than there are other digital assets. And I think that kind of gets like swept under the rug a little bit, but that goes to show you why this potential downside regulation on stablecoins is so important and so critical that people be paying attention to what happens there. Basically, what it's going to mean is that stable coins are going to be a huge central point of failure for the entire crypto ecosystem, and like a huge use case that is Did anybody think stablecoins would surpass the volume of Bitcoin? Probably early on, probably not. I think a little bit more forward-thinking people assume so, but I think the majority did not see that coming, and the majority of people don't watch that now. But it could mean massive restrictions, massive censorship. People said that the governments couldn't censor crypto. That's just fucking baloney. The U.S. Treasury. Yeah, like the U.S. Treasury has already censored and blacklisted many addresses, even with USDC. And because these companies are operating within the U.S. and dealing with U.S. customers and U.S. funds and U.S. banks, they are subject to U.S. Authorities and regulations, right? If the DOJ says blacklist this address, seize their funds, they're going to do it. So there's the problem. What's the solution? Decentralized, algorithmically powered stablecoins, right? That's where this space is going to go, in my opinion. I don't think they'll see as big of trading volume initially as the centralized stablecoins, just because they have so much infrastructure, they have brand awareness, right? The market liquidity creates liquidity, right? People can do $1 billion in it and with no issues. You can't do that with where we are. It's so early in the decentralized stablecoins. But it will grow. And I think there's a huge opportunity on the table for decentralized stablecoins and for people to be getting exposure to those now, in preparation for these upcoming regulations that are definitely going to be handed down in 2021.
Yeah, and I think there's trust built into things like Tether. Say what you will about USDT and the backing of it, but there's trust there, obviously, because people are moving hundreds of millions of dollars around every day using them. Whereas some of these new algorithmic stablecoins, they're growing, they have bugs, they come and go, and changes are made sometimes live in production. And there's like a minting function that goes wrong, and then the thing gets drained. So it is early. I think XDAI, or not XDAI, but just DAI, DAI, was one of the biggest sort of DeFi stablecoins that kind of came out this year. And I learned a little bit about that this week in my research for Dollar Protocol. So look, let's flip over to my chart. If you're not already there, I've got a new understanding and perhaps respect for these rebase coins. I thought it was crazy. Ample came out and it was like, if it's above $1, I should actually just pull that up. Actually, I had a chart on it way back in the day. But Ample, I think, is the first one that captured people's attention, where if this is above $1, then new Ample are essentially minted, and rebase happens. So it's not a transaction that goes into your wallet. It's just it's a function on the total supply, and it just increases your amount that's already in your wallet. So it kind of appears magically. And during this positive rebase cycle, millions and millions and millions of Ample were being delivered to people's wallets as the price was going up. They're just printing money, and the money is worth more. Like, it was pretty exciting. But as you see, once that starts going down and the trust is lost and the supply is insanely high, there's sort of a negative spiral to that. And then you just get this sort of elastic movement, with the goal being creating a stable coin that is essentially hovering around $1. So after this kind of insane volatility, you could expect this to become a fairly boring coin with, it goes up a bit. Okay, so I get extra Ample. I'm going to sell it. That sends it back down. Oh, I get debased a bit. I lose Ample. Eventually there's some buy demand there, it comes back up. Now, the problem with this is you can get into these negative rebase sort of spirals where it's below $1. And when it's down there, if you still hold Ample, every single day, it's getting reduced. It's getting reduced. So you're actually in a coin that perhaps is losing value, and it's being taken away from you. So what do? Well, I don't want to be part of that. I sell. And so you get these sort of negative spirals that can kind of get out of control. And so there's all these new ideas and new iterations. And that's what Nick's talking about. We're not there yet where these are going to be, huge volume taking over market share from Tether, because they're still in an experimental phase. There's a ton of different ones popping up. Base Protocol is one that's been catching a lot of interest this week, as the volume is pretty high. I mean, it's $30 million of trade volume. It's a rebase coin, basically meaning it's going to print or destroy, essentially, not print or destroy, but rebase or debase the supply to try and, again, get it back to its peg. And in Base's case, I'm not actually sure. I'm assuming that's $1, but I don't know for sure. So what I do know is that Dollar Protocol is the first one that really caught my attention. It's unique. It has two different coins. So the first coin is the USD. This is the stable coin, the one that they want ultimately to be around $1, because then it has use, because it's dependable and reliable. And then you have share. Now, share is kind of like owning shares in a bank. If this was a central bank and it's issuing currency, which is the USD, having shares gives you governance over the protocol. So when decisions are made, you get to vote on them, or you can even propose. If you own 1% of the supply, you can make proposals. And so you can see from the chart here, there was sort of a V1, and a bug was actually found during one of the changes that were made, and the USD was able to be minted and essentially sold. And so that crashed all the prices. Everyone was really concerned. They're like, what's going on here? Price go down, number go down. And so we had a big washout. And it was during this washout that this was brought to our attention. And we thought, oh, that bug was fixed. Now we're at this really low price. This is insane. If this is anything, it could be something big. And if you're saying like, well, why didn't you talk about it on stream? Well, I'll tell you what, down here, I wasn't telling any of my friends for two reasons. One, I was half expecting that this thing was just dead and it wasn't going to be that exciting at all. I don't want my friends to lose money on something that I'm just kind of aping into. But two, it was super low liquidity and low volume. So, this was actually the day we discovered it, and a few of my buddies and we're like, guys, relax. They throw in 3 ETH and this thing shoots up like 400%. So it was a tricky trade, and we just kind of been accumulating like apes at one point, just kind of flopping more and more in. But the interesting thing about share, and this is what's different and why it's unique, I think, and there's a few others maybe that are going to copycat or whatever, but the interesting thing about share is that during negative rebase, you don't lose share. Share is not taken away or added or minted or not. But during positive rebase, USD is dropped to the shareholders. So it's almost like you're getting all the upside of a rebase coin without those internal downsides that come during negative rebase. And of course, you get governance rights, so you kind of control the network. And so that's like a real quick one-over on Dollar Protocol. This Medium article explains it in a little more detail. 21 million total supply of share. The USD is very fluid, right? Right now we're printing Hxro because the price is above. Let's look up dollar. Price is above the peg. So as it moved above $1, and it's actually based on a 12-hour TWAP, time weighted average price. So it's lagging sometimes the price. Like we never had a $4, positive rebase. It was somewhere in the middle here. So as this moves up, more and more USD get printed, and they get dropped into the wallets of people that are holding share or whatever else. So at the very least, it's a fascinating social experiment. I think it's an exciting protocol. I don't even think TA works on this because it's more about the market cap, is what I'm being told. But for what it's worth, this support, I'm sure people are watching it, and maybe some buyers stepped in here. But looking into this stuff takes time. It's a whole new sort of mental hurdle that I had to get through to really wrap my head around the idea of rebase and negative rebase. It's pretty exciting when it's happening, because you're like, oh, I woke up today and there's like 700 of these, tokens or however many sitting in my account. Oh, and they're trading for $2.80. I just made 3K. And I'm like, this doesn't feel real. It feels like a Ponzi, but it actually makes sense when you read through it. So check out this article if you're interested. There's a whole other thing about XBond I won't get into. It's kind of confusing, but start to look at these things, because if nothing else, what you're going to get is copycats. So you've got base protocol. You've got ESD, empty set dollar, that's been doing really well. The market cap is up around 120 million. So that's definitely. What's up?
It was like the first big one that catch some traction, but it was farmed very early on by whales and funds who had no care to tell their followers about it. Of course,
yeah. Until it's up there, and now it's like, let's show
liquidity. Exactly.
Yeah. So like, it's all about market cap. This thing's got 121 million. I think USD is still like
sub
1 million. So as far as like potential goes, that's why I'm really excited about Dollar Protocol. But let's look at, I know DSD, the person that brought this to my attention, is now pretty large holder in this, and they've been killing it. They were at $8 last night, now at $5. But that loss, is not as normal as like another coin, because in this downside, maybe of 30% from the recent highs, there was a whole bunch of like new DSD printed, and they were selling that and essentially making a profit off this quote unquote free money that was just falling from the heavens. So it's a really cool idea. And I think what we're going to see is a lot more of these roll out as new dynamics and new protocols emerge. And someday down the road, a few of these will be established as sort of the winners. But until then, I think there's tremendous upside on some of the newer ones. You just have to remember that anytime a change is made to the protocol, there's an opportunity for a bug, and there's an opportunity for some mint function to go wrong or some flash loan attack. Like there's just weird shit that can happen. So as with everything, it's, risk what you're literally like affording to lose completely, because you wake up overnight, it's like, oh, there was a mint function that went wrong. You just have to be aware of that stuff. Those are the risks, and they're everywhere. But in the meantime, and especially from these sort of early days, there's going to be a ton of opportunity. And I'm really excited to see, what the next forks of these are, and copycats and clones, because even if they're shitty, maybe you roll some profits off the first one into that, and it's a free ride. And when these things run, they run crazy. I think my buddy who's sitting in DSD, he's printing something like $4,000 a day. That's an insane thing to think about. I think his cost basis is probably like $6,000. And until this thing goes back to negative rebase, he's just pumping it out. And that works on any level. Put 500 in, you're printing 400. Like, I don't know. And there's no guarantees, but this is why I get excited. And it actually, then I go back and look at my chart and I'm like, oh, why am I trading this? This is like a 12% move. So I've been kind of obsessed with this stuff this week as far as just my learning focus. But let's go into a quick and dirty rapid fire. We've got some great requests in here. I'm seeing the chat bubbling along as I go through my obsessive sort of overview of Dollar Protocol. It's exciting. It's what's focused on this week, and you're hearing about it in the trading pit as more and more of these ideas pop up. I think this one is still really early, but as far as like share,
algorithmic stablecoins are the biggest opportunity in the market right now, besides the Polkadot's trend that's coming, and besides positioning yourself properly in the DeFi. So I'd say decentralized, algorithmically powered stablecoins with elastic supply, DeFi, and parent chains with Polkadots are the three biggest opportunities in the markets going for the next quarter, in my opinion.
Yeah, and don't take that lightly, guys. Quote Nick on that. He is time and again blows me away with how he spots these trends. So I don't say that lightly. Like, I'm gonna, when I watch this back later on, and I'm gonna take that note, because there's baskets and there's sectors and there's concepts that are hot and that have fundamental reasons why they're going to continue to grow. And he just laid out three of them for you. So, look into that stuff. Now, looking at this chart, I just think bullish, nice little kind of pump breakout sort of, what do you call that? Test pump, and then consolidated, and then it just kind of blew up, and it is now in this triangle. Because during negative rebase, you don't lose any share. You just keep, you either get nothing for them or you get something during positive rebase. I think there's actually a chance that share right now is getting 10% of positive rebase. I think there's reason to believe that will be governed up, because the shareholders, they control that, and they can probably vote to give themselves a bump to 20% or 40%. And so I think that, if nothing else, will be a catalyst for more growth. I'm really excited about this. I've got a bag, dollar cost averaging, thinking of ways to get in. I don't know. You got to make your plan, but this just looks insanely bullish. So I will leave that there. Let's go to RLC. Somebody asked me about this way back in the chat. I hope you're still here watching. I've been thinking about this. This is definitely in the location. It's versus Bitcoin, so keep that in mind. It's in the zone. It hasn't really broken any bullish market structure to the upside yet, as far as like, lower high, lower high, lower high. So it's in an area where you might be considering taking some longs if you're hunting on a lower time frame. It's definitely down at the 886. In that sense, it's quite nice. Let's zoom in a bit and see, still just kind of lower highs, even on the 4 hour. But there's an opportunity here where it's a higher low, maybe, and there's a little breakout, and you're trading just within this range. That's possible on RLC. I'll do a very quick look at it on US dollar. Maybe Tether. Yeah, sure. The stable coin. Let's take a look here. Not that exciting, to be honest. I think these resemble a lot the same, what we saw from back in early March. And, I don't know what to make of this. I should probably start at a higher time frame. I don't know that I see what I need to see here to get too excited. It really depends on your time frame. I mean, hey, it's not terrible. You got the weekly, you got some bullish breakout, you got sort of like a rollover, and now it's consolidating. It is near the reload zone on the highest time frames. So, but I would like to see this. Okay, let me just put it this way. We've got a low. We're going to try to make a higher low here. Either that was it or it's going to come down a bit, but it has to hold this low. Then I need to see a break above here. So that's your higher time frame bullish market structure. And if that's going to break, you've got tons of time to get in, right? You've got tons of time to hunt for a pullback after it's confirmed that this little slide down is over. For now, why rush? Those are my thoughts on RLC.
I got XRP here. This is an easy one. Let me know when we're good.
Okay, yeah, XRP.
Yeah, XRP, obviously, huge pump, literally right into the 3-day resistance level. Hope you didn't buy that. It has come down to a reload zone, though. It's tested it already once, kind of testing it again here. We've been saying before when this thing is pumping, wait for 45, 50 cents. Well, here we are. It could come down, like if the markets if the markets roll over here for a second leg, I would expect this lower probe here, like that 45 cents. I'd say XRP bullish above 45 cents, very blanket statement. But that's how it is, right? This is the former resistance level back in 09. We've come down here. So, if we kind of like do something like this, right? That nice higher low off the support block, easy trade, right back to 78 cents, right? If it were to break out, where's it going to go? Well, it's probably going to sweep these highs here. What's that? 99 cents a dollar. However, if we do break down in classic XRP fashion, we'd probably be looking for all the way back down to around
that'd
34.
Be a buy opportunity, I think.
Oh yeah, this is a
buying back at that point.
Yeah,
for sure.
You would have to, even if you hate this thing with everything in you have to buy it down here, unfortunately. 30 cents all the way up to 30. What was that? 34. 30 to 33 cents. What a fantastic reload zone. If anything, at those levels, you're still there's so much confluence here, right? Oh my God, the volume node, the spring of the reload, the Wyckoff throwback, like
that could coincide with the potential kind of retrace we're seeing maybe in Bitcoin. So another one to keep an eye on, guys, as far as like having that plan set in advance.
Exactly.
Take note of these levels. Have some alerts set if you're if long is your flavor. I don't know that it goes down there, but if it does, it's going to be a great opportunity for the next year or two. And somebody asked here, to put context on this with regards to the Spark airdrop that's coming up in 3 days for XRP. Do you expect some downside following that, perhaps? And then, how would you play that?
I don't have all the metrics on it, so when I'm looking at airdrops, I'm just thinking about it in terms of supply that's going to be hitting the market. And then at that point, once you have that information, right?
Yeah, it's a new coin, so it's less about like airdropping more XRP. It's more like there's probably a lot of buyers who are stepping in to just trade that hype, and then they may sell off even before the airdrop, not even caring about Spark.
Yep, and a good example of that type of human behavior is with Trust Swap, right? People bought into that, they got their airdrop, and then they fucked off. So, that could totally happen. And if it does, then I'd be looking at the scenario 2 to be playing out, especially if we get that retrace down in the majors we were talking about. But I guess the point at the end of the day here is that, it's either going to hold this level here at 47 cents, it's going to consolidate. If you see the higher high in the consolidation, the higher lows in consolidation, it's confirmation. The bulls are there. The momentum is on their side. Take the long, put the stop loss just below 43 cents. Because if the 43 cents level goes, there's just too much downside risk, right? Like you don't want to hold through a 26% drawdown, especially on leverage, you'll just be liquidated. But yeah, so if, as long as you hold this level, if you saw something like this, I'd take the long up to back to 78 cents, or at very minimum, I guess your first target would be around 68. If it fails, just wait, and then look to scoop it up back down here at 33, 34 cents. Aeon USD, I'll pull that up next here too.
Sounds good. Yeah, I actually went and found Aeon USD over on the CoinTrader Pro. I just wanted to get the full history because it is at a level I'm actually starting to look at it myself again. It's starting to excite me. As the guy who's just always waiting to buy my Aeon back. Like you got to look at the history here. Massive onset, big inflation coming down. Apparently there's a hard fork coming up. I'm going to have to check their Twitter and read into that. Doesn't sound like it would be a contentious one, would be my guess offhand, but who knows? But there is opportunity here if you're one to rush into a trade. I think, as Nick's pointed out quite a bit, there's some levels here you want to regain before you get too serious on the long term. But let's not ignore facts. We've got a lower high, a lower high, a lower high. We haven't made a higher one yet. It is trending down on the most important time frame, which at this point is the weekly. The one thing I've got going for it is we've got the ultimate low, and now we've just put in a higher low, and we're kind of coming up here. I don't see any insane buy volume rushing in here, so I'm a little cautious. Obviously, if you wait, that is not the one I wanted to see. This is CoinTrader Pro, so it's a little weird. Bear with me here, guys. Okay, I got half of what I need. Let's just work with that. I'm gonna have to reverse, and let's move them to the right. Okay, so we're in a reload zone on the weekly. That is an area where I get excited, and because down here I can risk to these lows, it's still a pretty big drop. And if you're going to wait for that monster structure to grow, like on the weekly, you're going to have to, you're looking at a 2x just to even get there to maybe confirm it. So you really have to ask yourself how you want to approach this. I think more comfortably over here on TradingView now. I'll take a look on the daily, and you can get in here. Still some high sell volume down here. So that the sell volume is outpacing the buy volume at this point. And that just makes me nervous. I think if anything, there's probably some time for this thing as far as like cleaning up the chart, consolidating, maybe moving up, coming back down, moving up, coming back down, like the washing machine cycle. I am not in a rush to get Aeon back in my portfolio. January, February is a time where I'll be much more aggressive with like loading some bags for the year. But with everything else we've talked about today, I think you guys can understand why I'm doing a little bit of wait and see when it comes to the higher time frame stuff, as far as like parking spot positions. Now, one thing we didn't talk about today, which I just want to touch on quickly, is Ethereum Bitcoin. Zoomed out, the weekly looks great. I think we're just trending up, and we just made a higher low and bullish retest. I mean, this thing just looks fine. Zoomed in a little bit, we're ranging between key resistance and key support. We've just come into the pump chaser zone, and after that little dump last night, we've caught a pretty nice bounce. The problem with this is that I don't see the volume that I want to see. Now, this is a daily, so it's still got 3.5 hours of trading left, and in that time, if there's volume, this will grow. But we need to break this high at the very least of this volume, right? Because that's a very important signal. That tells us who's in control of this chart. Right now, bears, 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 bears. At every down, there is more selling, and at every up, there is less buying. That's an important signal. And that just tells me I can cool my jets here for a little bit. I can relax. Obviously, if we reclaim some levels, if the buy volume comes in, I can change my tune. And as you see, I'm not going to miss the whole move if I wait for 1 or 2 pips on this weekly chart. So this is a really good proxy for altcoins. So I thought it was very encouraging today that we caught this. I haven't even looked at my dominance chart today, but this rising wedge is exciting, because if it breaks down, it speaks to a much more like kind of continued drop. And that's where you're going to see things like Bitcoin pairs and altcoins popping off, which they already are, a lot of them. We're seeing a new 2 or 3 or 4 each week coming off their lows. But if this thing breaks down in earnest, that's where you get this. That's where you get that. This is alt season from the summer. So I am watching this thing like a hawk. I will continue to update it on our Twitter, which reminds me, if you guys haven't already, please hit us up on YouTube with a like and a sub. That just shows us that you appreciate what we're doing. So if you haven't done that and you're watching and you're enjoying this, that would go a long way for us. But in the meantime, this rising wedge looks good to me. It can always break up, but I think it looks like it wants to break down, and that would really coincide with Ethereum, catching some kind of move like that. And if this goes, oh my God, the next leg is going to be incredible. But for now, it's kind of quiet, arguably like a little bit of a consolidation triangle. So I want to see where this is going to break out to, because I want to trade the next expansion on Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, what do you got? I mean, what? Okay, we do have a few more requests in here. Let's see if we can get them together. Shane Dislikey. I don't know why. I think he's a Bitcoin maxi.
Oops.
Oops. But I know he's.
Yeah, I guess I'll pull up one more chart, and then we should probably think about cutting it here at 1 p.m.
We do have to wrap. Yeah. Oh God, are we? Oh yeah, we're getting up there. We're into the 1.5 hour. Okay, so let's see. You go ahead.
No, that was it. I'm just saying it's so easy to lose track of time when there's so much great content to always be going over. I feel like we could be running a 24/7 talk show.
There's a lot to talk about. Yeah, could talk about crypto all day. Love it.
All right, I'll grab Haka. Maybe you grab Cover or Acropolis.
Okay, sounds good.
I am not a Bitcoin maximalist. I used to be. And then I saw much better opportunities and other stuff. I saw Bitcoin going towards a complete censorship, no path to sovereignty for the individual anymore. So and that's the reason why I got into crypto in the first place, right? So for me, I'm looking for other solutions at the moment for that sovereignty play. And I think the governments are going to make it extremely difficult. So, it's
very cut out for you.
Yeah, it's true. Anyways, let's get back to it. Pull up this chart here. Nobody wants to hear me complain.
You get 5 minutes a day to complain about your Bitcoin sovereignty being taken away, and then we got to go. We got to move on.
That's a fucking shame. Wow, this Hawker chart. This thing looks amazing. Let me pull it over here to the screen so you guys can actually see it.
There you go.
There we go. So yeah, this is clearly an uptrend. How do I know that? Well, higher low, higher. Okay, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher high, higher high, higher high. Uptrend.
Volume rising.
Yeah, exactly. So let me try and get a proper nice viewing angle here for you guys. We're going to start off on the daily. Always start your analysis at high time frames. What a great cup and handle that formed there, eh? Wow. So this is actually a broadening wedge pattern. Can I even do TA on this? Yeah, I can. Okay, cool. So quickly, we're going to use some Wyckoff throwback. People were always saying, "Oh, how do I grab my levels?" Well, here's a good. If you watch this, I'll show you. So it's a little bit more difficult with a lot of this early stuff because a lot of time liquidity is going to be really shit, and this is why you have these massive wicks and stuff, right? So normally I do try and take my levels off the bodies of candles, but that's a little bit more difficult here. So what we're going to do is that we're going to use this here. And something like this. This is my daily block of resistance. This is my ceiling. I need to see this ceiling get blown out for confirm this thing is about to go fucking crazy, right? So quickly draw it up then. And that level is around 10 cents. So if the market is closing above and holding above 10 cents, that is a confirmed bull. I would have no issues holding any long at that point. What do we need to see right now? Well, if we continue to trend up, I'm pretty confident we'll eventually hit this. And what probably is going to happen off that, whoopsies, got to draw that straight as possible. So right in between here, this would be a rebuy zone. And I don't necessarily care to take the risk of, even if I think this is bullish, I don't care to take the risk of riding it to 10 up to here, right? Yeah, it's a 30% move. It's great. But I'm looking for the expansion moves, right? I want to long this thing at 10 cents. Targeting, this 18, 20 cent range, this 24 to 25 cent range. And then, if it gets fucking crazy, this is the big block up here, 34, right? So there's a 340% upside from here to here, right? This is what I care about. I don't care I don't care what's happening here for 30%. Even 28% or something like that, right? Because there's all this downside risk. This is your major support level. That's down there at 2.5 cents. From here, holy fuck, that's massive drawdown, right? So I'm just not interested in that. So wait, if this thing does break up, right, it's probably going to come into this 10, 11 cent level. What's going to happen? It's probably going to sell down a little bit, guys. If this back to where it is right now, 7.5, 9 cents, that's your buy, right? Because if you see, this is getting really messy, so I'm going to redraw this quickly. But if you see this if you see this pattern, and we go over it a lot, so it comes up, comes back down, and consolidates above this level here, that is what you want to be buying. Not only have you confirmed the uptrend is good, but there's still buying pressure and momentum at these higher levels. And it's just, you know, probably going to get a nice little triangle off that, right? And then eventually it's going to go fucking boom, assuming we're in a bull market, right? So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the confirmation of trends and momentum. So I'd be looking to rebuy. So it's, again, up to 10, 11 cents, back down to where we are around 8 cents, 8.5 cents. If I see us holding above that level, I would trigger the buy, and I would be targeting 18, 20 cents, 25, 24, 26 cents. So that's kind of how I'm trading this right now. Higher highs, higher lows. It's clearly a bull, and your downside that we need to be protecting right now is kind of like that 4 cents all the way down to 3.5 cents.
All right. Y'all heard it here first. And big shout out to Max for the kind words in the chat. Really appreciate you. And I agree. I feel like we have done a really decent job at putting some value out here on the stream. And it is still considered a hidden gem because we don't have a whole bunch of subs. So if you guys want to spread the word, I don't know that there's any value in it staying small. So hit us up. I think the more people that come into the stream and join us regularly, the more ideas fly in. And, we're going to keep finding those hidden gems in the market. And personally, I just think the more eyes that are in, here helping us is even better. And of course, the more people who can learn with us improves themselves as traders. And then that's even more eyes looking out in the market with us and for us. So yeah, feel free to spread the word, guys. I love this stuff. And I want to look at cover right now real quick because I just pulled this chart up while you were talking. It already had all this ink on it. So my guess is that somebody requested this before, and I put the replay feature on because I'm feeling pretty jazzed about this squiggly right now. As you can see, price did kind of come back into that pump chaser zone that apparently I was speculating it would, and is starting to take off. So it is right up against these highs. Now, if it, just running to these highs can be risky. The fact that it kind of reloaded in this pump chaser zone and is now taking off, that arguably there was probably on the lower, this is a 4 hour, so on the lower time frames, you're getting your low, getting a higher low, you're seeing a breakout. This close here about 12 hours ago was a really good signal. Somebody saw that signal and then the buyers stepped in. So this thing looks primed for continuation from this level. I can't long it at this resistance. I just, over time, that kind of a thing is going to cause me to lose money. Unless I'm just like buying for a 1 year thing and I don't care if it does this over the next week downward, but this thing looks primed for continuation from here. And so if you're in this, I wouldn't be rushing to sell this high myself. If I had a bag, I would be looking for the move up into the fib extension, which is like a decent little run from here. It's actually like 60% move, 50% move. So getting up into this area, and when it arrives here, if it does, I should say if. Let's see. I should delete this. It's getting ugly. But yeah, once it gets up into that area, if I have a bag, I'm paying myself. Maybe not entirely, but taking enough off that, I've made some profit and I can tell myself I'm a profitable trader today. And then, the other thing that does, obviously, if it continues, you still have some left. But if it pulls back, I've taken some profit. I paid myself. I'm not worried about losing everything I made. I've already got some of it locked in. And now I've got this level. Maybe I can redeploy, right? I've given myself options. So playing from strength is not only about buying at lower areas and buying dips instead of pumps, but it's also about taking profit at some of these big moves up so that you equip yourself with the ability to, be agile, I should say, at the next one. So that's my take on cover. I mean, it looks really strong. This volume is great. That means that after all of this lack of interest, there's sort of a new breakout happening. Really pumped for everyone holding this coin. I think it's going to continue well. And this is the ETH chart. So it's doing well versus ETH. So if ETH is going to get bullish, that's doubly exciting. Yeah. Hey, take care, Shane. Really glad you stuck around and hung out with us today. Love seeing you in there. And thank you, Matt. Appreciate that as well. So I think that's us getting near the top here, near the end. I would hope that we didn't leave somebody who made an early request, has waited all this time, and we never get to it. I don't see that. I think idle. Okay, God, we'll do a quick one on idle. I hate that feeling that somebody came, stuck around, hung out, and then we just sign off and didn't get to it. Idle's trending up. I think this thing's new, so not a whole lot of history to work with. Tons of buy volume coming in here on the latest highs. Not necessarily rushing to sell if I have a position. Certainly not something I can rush and buy if I don't have a position. Downside risk now for a fairly standard retrace. Well, look at that. Oh my God. Already tagged the sweet spot on this dump. That's a pretty aggressive dump. I don't know what to make of that, but if you are trading a trend, this one is up, and it just had a really nice bullish throwback into a key support level, confluent with the reload zone. So, I wouldn't rush to say this is a top yet. Yeah, just looks good. I mean, it's just trending up. So, even if it gets a little boring and has to kind of slide in here, there's an uptrend happening. And generally speaking, if you're loading something during an uptrend, you want to do it on higher lows. And then obviously if it gets into this shit and starts to break down, like, oh, now you're in a downtrend, reconsider things. But it looks like it's not being idle at all. It's moving up fairly aggressively with higher volume. So dips probably for buying on this one as far as just standard price action goes. And that's it. I think that's it. I think perp. Okay. Wow. Perp token. We'll do a quick and dirty. An actual quick and dirty here. God, I want to see what share does on this breakout. Whatever it is, I want to see it live. Let's take a look at perp. Oh, that's what you want to see on a chart, right? You want to see some history. You want to see some sell-offs. You want to see that downside, getting rid of the sellers. Who doesn't want to be a part of this? Okay, cool. Get out. And now what you've got is volume coming in, buyers interested, stepping into the market, putting a floor in it, and there's an uptrend. And I don't even think I have to draw this one. You guys can see it, right? We've got lows, we've got highs, higher lows, higher lows. Great shout on perp. Whatever this one is, it is trending up, and it is only kind of just started. The other thing you got to know about trends is they tend to start off fairly meagerly, like kind of chill. The best part of a trend, the most profitable part of these kinds of moves, tends to come in the form of a blow off top. So maybe you're getting, oh God, maybe you're getting one leg, one leg, okay, cool it. 2 legs gets a little more aggressive, consolidate, and then you're getting that blow off top, and then you get that M top fail, and then that's your sort of Elliott wave, sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. So this thing could be, based on this volume, starting off something in that kind of large uptrend. And because it's a Uniswap coin, presumably not listed on a lot of centralized exchanges, it may be somewhat, not entirely, but somewhat insulated from the price action of the majors. I'm actually noticing a lot of that through this cycle, which is exciting. Because I hate when everything just dumps together, pumps together. It's boring. Uniswap coins get a little insulation from that. Like, I'm not rushing to sell my share, if Bitcoin breaks down here, because it's like a 1 million cap coin. I just don't know how much lower I'd expect it to go. One of the benefits of playing in the weeds. Shall we flip back to studio?
Sure.
All right, we are coming up on an hour mark, guys. Really nice long stream today. Really good engagement in the chat. So love chatting with you guys, and glad to see you guys here. We are going to wrap up on Monday. I've got Karush AK coming in from Twitter. You guys may have heard of that guy. He's getting a lot of, he's growing really fast this year. And one of the reasons is he puts out a lot of free educational content, risk management course, free. How to trade this, free. So I'm really excited to talk to him, get a little peek into sort of his mind and how he sees the market. I'm sure he's going to have lots of really good alpha to drop on us and hang out and do some charts. So if you haven't already, hit the sub and the bell so you'll be notified when we go live on Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Other than that, Nick and I will be back on Friday, and we'll see what happens between now and then. I think the Ethereum Bitcoin actually just gave me a price alert. So, Bitcoin, Ethereum, ETH BTC is moving. That's really good news. So let's end on a high note, and that is that ETH BTC might be breaking out, which would probably save the altcoin index and probably going to age really well for altcoins here versus Bitcoin in the next few days. So we'll keep an eye on that. Check us on Twitter if you want to see the latest, because that's where I'll be putting out at Random Task 555 is more of my specific trade ideas, but also on at Real Hero Labs. That's it. That's the tweet. So have a wonderful evening, guys. Wonderful afternoon, day, whatever it is where you are, and whatever you do between now and Friday, always play from a position of strength. Take care. Stay frosty, baby.